So lying on your side, whichever side you choose, bend your knees, resting your head. And if it feels like it's dropping down a little bit, put a pillow underneath the side of your head so it feels that your neck is in line with the rest of your spine. And if it feels uncomfortable with your knees bent like this, then put a cushion or a pillow between your knees. Lovely. So using one of your hands, either the top hand or the lower hand, place it on your rib cage, the ribs that are facing the ceiling. So if you're lying on your right side, you're placing a hand on your left rib cage on the side of the ribs. And if you're lying on your left side, you're placing a hand on the side of your right rib cage. And breathe into your hand. So you're using your hand as feedback for the breath. You want your breath to be aimed towards your hand, so it feels as if you are creating some space underneath your hand, creating space in your ribs, as if there was a little balloon underneath your ribs, and every time you're taking an in-breath, that balloon expands, and when you breathe out, it relaxes back down. Just take a moment to notice that. And as you take that moment, can you notice also what you are lying on, how it's supporting you, how it feels on that other hip, on the hip that you're lying on? Does it feel heavy? Can you feel a softness in the face and the jaw? As you practice a few more breaths like this, can you take a moment to notice what is happening to that shoulder blade on that side that you're breathing into? Does it feel as if you're creating space for your shoulder? There's more room for your shoulder. And notice next time you breathe in, can you allow the top of your pelvis, let's call that the hip, your hip to move away from your armpit. So when you breathe into your rib cage, your hand can stay there if it wants to, or if you don't need it anymore, put it down. When you breathe into that part of your ribs, your top of your pelvis that's facing the ceiling moves away from the armpit. And as you exhale, it drops back. So it's almost as if you're trying to lengthen that side of your waist. If you breathe in, you create space, as if you're creating a distance between that hip and underneath your arm. And you exhale and let everything just drop back to how it was, and you might feel heavier on the side that you're resting on. So that inhalation and creating space, and the exhalation just dropping back. You're taking your time, take it slowly. And if you've had a busy day of racing around, trying to find that slow pace can sometimes be a bit tricky in the beginning. Just give it a few moments for you to calm down and notice what you're doing. The expansion of the ribs, the movement in your shoulder, the movement of that hip moving away from you. And then let that go for a moment. Just rest here and notice your breath without changing it at all. We're going to change that movement that we were doing just slightly. So you're sticking with this movement of the hip, you're staying with that, but you're going to move it even less than what you did just now. So when you breathe in, move it very slightly away from you. Hold it there as you breathe out. And when you breathe in again, move it a little bit further away again. And as you exhale, let it rest. Hold there, stay there, hold it. And on the next inhalation, let it move a little bit further away again. Hold it there. And exhale, bring the whole thing back and let it just rest there for a couple of breaths. Relax your jaw, soften your tongue. And then on the next inhalation, the hip moves slightly away from your armpit, just a little bit. You exhale, it stays there. You inhale, it moves away a little bit more. It stays there as you exhale. And on the last inhalation, it moves away even further. And let it come back on the exhalation. And let yourself breathe for a moment in this position. Noticing the space that you're creating in the side of your body, the length of the waist, the space around your pelvis and in your hip, creating more space for your breathing. And come back to the movement that we did in the beginning. So breathing in, letting that hip moving away from your armpit all the way as far as you feel it wants to go without forcing it. And exhale, bring it back. And you might notice that you're going a little bit further than you did originally, feeling much freer in that side of your waist. Inhaling as you move that pelvis away from your hip, from your armpit. Exhale as it comes back, and just doing a couple more in your own time, taking it easy. These are muscles that we're just working with to ease. Find some softness and comfort there, because we tend to hike up the hips, or they tend to get tight in our backs when we're rushing around, holding on to tension or worry. We're just letting that melt away with this gentle movement. And then let it all go. And come over and rest on your back if you want to, or stay on your side if you want to, because you're going to finish there. Notice your breath. Notice how you feel on that side compared to the other side. Maybe the other side feels a little bit shorter, a little bit tighter now. And notice how you have more space on that side you were just working on to breathe into. If you wish to do the other side, go ahead. And if not, just stay as you are. And this is something you can practice lying in bed before you go to sleep, or if you wake up in the middle of the night. But you can also do it sitting. If you're sitting towards the front of a chair, if you're sitting at your desk or watching the telly or reading, you can actually have a little play around with this hiking of the hip and then letting it go. You feel as if that hip's going up to your armpit and then letting it go. And notice how it feels when you're trying it in a seated position. It can be completely different. Happy practicing, but also happy resting.